Hi, welcome to probably the most comprehensive and in-depth video for creating your own meal plan and shopping list that you will ever see. The way I do it is quite specific, and I've honed it over the years. I've been doing my shopping plan and meal plan and shopping list like this for quite a few years now, and it's just made things really easy for me. And it might seem a little bit kind of convoluted, but I found once I got into doing things this way, it's just really paid off. So I've got my notes here so I don't forget to give you any information. I've got loads of books and some shopping list notebooks here, which I'll show you in a sec. So here goes. So basically I plan meals for every day of the week. They don't have to be, it doesn't have to be like on Monday we're having this and on Tuesday we're having that. But I decide on 6 or 7 meals I will be cooking during one week. And I write them in one of these notebooks. Now I have managed to find 5 of these notebooks. This is my current one actually, and I'm nearly at the end of. And basically each of these notebooks is it's literally just full of meal plans for each week, which I've used them for. And what's really good about this, it might seem a bit kind of OTT, but what's really good about having these books is that one week I can think, oh, what was that really nice meal I made like 3 or 4 weeks ago? I'm sure it was. Let me have a look back through, flick back through my notebooks, and then I can normally find it. And then I can remake meals that my family have really enjoyed. And so, yeah, I just find it really helpful. I can see here, this one started on the 8th of December 2014, so it's been dating back to at least that far. But I love keeping these notebooks, and also it means I can just like look back and see what kind of things I've been making over the years, the 30th of September 2013, even further back. So yeah, I really recommend having a special notebook for your shopping list that you can look back on, that you can refer back to. You can also just have a record of the kind of things you've been cooking, and also if you're just starting to get into cooking, it can be a nice record to flick back through and say, oh wow, like I used to make things that were so much simpler, and I can see how I've become more adventurous in my cooking. So I just absolutely love having my little notebooks, and also I keep them in the same place in the kitchen so that in the morning or the night before I can have a quick look and say, oh, what do I fancy cooking today or tomorrow? And then if I need to like get anything out of the freezer or make sure something is prepared, then I can do that. And it also means I can access them quickly, like if I need to add like an everyday ingredient, because I tend to have just a small list to the side of each page for just everyday things I need for my children for school dinners or for their lunch boxes, because they have packed lunch. So things like bread, yogurts, like cheese, everyday things that aren't specific for meals. And then I have the specific meal lists as well. Sounds complicated, but really it isn't. It's really simple, and it just helps me massively. So that's that. Those are my notebooks. So before I start making my list, I normally know in my head kind of what kind of things I want to cook for the following week. So often if I've had a week where we've had kind of heartier meals, or we've had a weekend where we have been, say, doing something with friends and we've eaten or I've eaten more than I'm just feeling a little bit fuller, I know that I'll want to have kind of a lighter week, which will then send me to particular cookbooks or particular recipes. So in my head, I know kind of which cookbooks I'm going to want to look through for a particular week. Now, another thing, I mean, I love looking through cookbooks, so I will buy a new cookbook and I will literally sit and read the whole introduction, like all of the chapter intros, because I am so interested in what the author has to say. And it gives you a real insight into why people have ended up writing a cookbook, especially depending on the type of cookbook it is. And it just gives you an insight, and I just find it really helpful. And then also in the process of doing that, I will go through and I will mark out recipes or put a mini post-it in recipes that I want to make or that appeal to me. So, and those are colour coded. Oh dear, I have to tell you, my bookcase is not organised by author or colour, but being able to access recipes is really important to me. So for example, I will have like green colour codes for savoury meals, I'll have pink colour codes for like maybe for breakfast or for baking recipes. But I've just found that that's really helpful, especially if I'm looking for something particular. If I think, oh, I'm just going to pick up this book, I know that there's like a meal recipe in there that I want. I can't remember where it is, but I know it's going to be one of these green tabs, for example. So that works really well. I've got loads of books that are just full of these little tabs here. And also it's it just makes it a bit more personal to you, really. This is one of my favourite books, and you can see how many tabs are in here. It's just, well, it's not ridiculous, in my opinion. Okay, so those are the cookbooks. If you're just starting to get into buying cookbooks, I really recommend you do that. Like, you know, it's not essential, but it's really good to know where an author is coming from, I find, like I said before, and just going through, instead of first having a look at the recipe when you're about to write your shopping list, if you've already gone through the book, you know what's in there, and you can think, oh yeah, I saw that recipe in Deliciously Ella every day. I know it's in there, I know I want to make that this week, and then you just know that in there is something you want to cook, or probably more than one thing you want to cook for that week. So I find that really helpful. You obviously don't have to go to that extent if you don't want to, but I just found it's really helpful to kind of be organised, and it's quite an enjoyable thing to do as well, just in an evening. So that's a really helpful tip. Also, obviously, there are plenty of other sources for recipes. So if you've got lots of recipes saved on Pinterest or on Instagram, or free supermarket magazines, house magazines, like Ideal Home magazine has some really nice recipes in the back in the cooking section. So, recipes can be obtained from so many sources. So if you've got like a Pinterest account that you've got tons of recipes saved on but that you never ever look at, go there, just think, right, this week I'm going to cook from those Instagram recipes or Pinterest recipes that I've saved, or even I'm just going to cook one or two, but just decide, right, I've got all these recipes, I keep saving them, and then I don't do anything about it. So maybe make next week your week where you go to those recipes and you actually think, yes, I'm going to do it. Okay, so the next thing that I always do is I always check what I've got left in the fridge and see what's in the cupboards, just so that I can make use of any produce that is left from the previous week. I will often use produce up in lunches as well. And I often kind of buy a bit of extra produce so that I can have lunches that are full of vegetables and nutrients and things, because that's really important to me to have in the daytime as well. But I will always plan then so that I can use up as much produce as I have, and then see if I've got any meat in the freezer as well, which I would like to include in any meals I make for that week. I am also quite familiar with, and as you will become, the more used you get to going shopping, planning your weekly meals. So I'm very aware, for example, that a bag of spinach is far too much for my family of 2 adults and 2 children to use in one meal. So I will, if I choose a meal which contains spinach, for example, or kale, and that's another good example, I will know that I will either need to make one other meal in the week which contains that ingredient, and then I can use some at lunchtime as well, because I know that I would like to have some spinach with my lunch on several days of the week, because I love spinach. But anything like that where you know that you're not going to use up the whole packet, just try and include that then in another recipe, so that you're not wasting or causing those ingredients to go just a little bit past their best, and that will enable you to reduce food waste as well, which is just so important, and which I'm constantly striving to do, never succeeding as much as I want to, but this definitely helps. Okay, so one thing that I really love doing is picking up random ingredients in the supermarket. One of my favourite things to do this with is squashes. I absolutely love seasonal squash, and if you've been following me for a while, you will know that I'm always posting about seasonal squash, and I get really excited as soon as I see the boxes in the supermarket, as soon as they come in when they're in season. I love just buying the most peculiar looking squashes and then seeing how they taste, seeing what I can put them in with, if they're nice roasted, if they're good in soups. Squash is a really good example actually of a food that can vary massively in texture, in kind of weight. Like some of the squashes are quite dense, and when you roast them, you sometimes have to eat them quite quickly because they are best literally when they come out of the oven. And others are, those dense ones are really good for soups actually, but sometimes combined with other ingredients. But anyway, I find that really empowering, because before I knew much about these ingredients, when I saw them in the supermarket, my first thought was, oh wow, I wonder what I could do with that. And I put it into my trolley. I mean, I'd obviously used butternut squash for years, but yeah, all the other different types, and that's kind of become a bit of an exciting thing for me. So it's nice to get excited about something so simple. So yeah, if you see something, particularly produce, something that you know is going to be nutritionally valuable, just put it in your basket or in your trolley and just think, okay, I don't care that I don't know what this is. I feel empowered that I can just pick it up and I can find out later, and I can possibly create some incredible meal with it. And maybe, you know, at some point during that week, you can look up the ingredient or try and find out what it is. Ask your friends if you've got anybody that you know who's into cooking. You can post it on my Facebook page if you've got a question about any type of food. And if I don't know what it is or what you can do with it, I will happily look into it for you. So sometimes, obviously because I do my own recipes, I'll know that I need to take photographs for a particular recipe or something, so that doesn't really apply unless you're taking photos of your food and documenting them. But if I know that I need to do that, if I've got a new recipe that I need to document, then I will add that into my weekly shopping list as well. But to be honest, I try and take more of my photos in the spring and summer when there's better natural light. So anyway, then I list all of those ingredients. Obviously, if there are ingredients that are the same in as well as ones where you buy like a large volume of them, like the spinach. If there are other ones where you've got like the same ingredients, or say you're buying chicken, for example, for one dish and then you're having it in another dish, because you can freeze chicken, it doesn't matter so much, or other meat in general, it doesn't matter so much if you end up not using all of it for 1 week, because you can freeze those, so it's not so important. It's more the fresh produce where it really helps if you can include them in as many meals as possible. And then I just really love to then use up a lot of the produce that does end up getting left over, because it just happens, and to create as many interesting lunches as possible, which I just find really fun, and it enables you to also get like a massive range of nutrients in. So yeah, I think really I've said everything I wanted to say. So when you get new cookbooks, I really recommend sitting down, reading them, going through them, marking out what the recipes are, or at least fold the corners over or something, just so that you know that there are recipes in there you want to come back to. Make your shopping lists in little books so that you can refer back to them, so that you can think, oh, what was that delicious thing I made the other week? You can look back. It's not on a piece of paper that's just gone in the recycling, but it's here on record for you. And just enjoy it. I get home on a Sunday evening, and I know that I'm going to make my shopping list on that Sunday evening after my children have gone to bed, and I sit down at the table and I get all my cookbooks out, or at least not all of them, but at least all the ones I know I want to use. So I have a specific time every week when I know that I'll be planning my meals. I find that really helps because it just creates a space when you know you're going to do it. Some people hate shopping list planning. To be honest, there are plenty of weeks where I just think, oh, I just can't be bothered to do that now. But you will find you'll save money, you'll save time having to do it again, and you can think quite creatively whilst you're planning your shopping list. To be honest, you can think of creative ways to use up ingredients that you have from the previous week, of how to make sure that you use an ingredient that you're buying this week so that you use it up. There are all sorts of benefits to it. And I think if you're just starting out getting into cooking as well, it's a great way of getting your thoughts together. If you're a bit intimidated by getting into cooking and getting into your kitchen, it really just helps to focus your mind on what you're doing, and I just find it really helpful. So I hope that you find that helpful as well. If you find it a bit over the top, feel free to just, take whatever positives you find or you've taken from it and just think, okay, well, I don't want to do like the marking out of all of these recipes, but I do quite like the idea of a book, a notebook where I keep all my recipes for the week, or all of my shopping list, So yeah, I really hope you found that helpful. This video has been a really long time in coming. I hope that you take something positive from it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you're not bored of the sound of my voice. Bye.